Does everybody do that when they see you?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you all hear me? Great. Hi, welcome. I'm Lisa Bankman, and I welcome you to the East Columbia branch of Howard County Library. Let me just start with a brief announcement recognizing Eileen Clegg, our Evening in the Stacks silent auction winner of 2 front row seats to this event. Welcome. We are delighted that Laurie King is able to visit our library on her big tour for The God of the Hive, the 10th book in her tremendously popular Mary Russell Sherlock Holmes series. We thank her and Random House for including us on the itinerary, and thank the Friends of Howard County Library for sponsoring this event. Laurie King has no formal training in fiction writing. Before she began writing, she obtained her undergrad degree in religious studies and a master's degree in theology, always working while taking classes and studying. She also first traveled the world and became a mother and a homemaker in the most literal sense of the word. And this is what I mean by literal. She taught herself how to wield a hammer, saw, an electric drill, and probably some other power tools as well. Eventually, she not only designed, but also built a 2-story addition to the 80-year-old farmhouse where she lived with her husband and 2 young children. Laurie King became a novelist in September of 1987 when her daughter entered 2nd grade and her son was off to preschool 3 days a week. With the Waterman fountain pen she had bought the summer before in Oxford, she wrote on a canary pad the words, "I was 15 when I met Sherlock Holmes, 15 years old with my nose in a book as I walked the Sussex Downs, and nearly stepped on him." Thus was born The Beekeeper's Apprentice, the first book in her New York Times bestselling Mary Russell series. Since then, Laurie has averaged about a book a year. In addition to the Mary Russell series, she's the author of the Kate Martinelli Contemporary Mystery Series, 5 highly praised standalone novels, and several short stories. Her books have won myriad awards, including the Edgar and Creasy Awards for A Grave Talent, the Nero Wolfe Award for A Monstrous Regiment of Women, the McCavity Award for Folly, and the Lambda Award for the Art of Detection. To date, more than 2 million copies are in print of the Mary Russell series alone. Laurie King is a master storyteller who has the gift of immediately drawing the reader into her fictional universe, mesmerizing us with her brilliant imagination and her knack for creating compulsively readable and suspenseful adventures. So please do join me in welcoming Laurie King.
I was fascinated to listen to all that. I really don't know where she got all that. I must have written it, but I've forgotten all about it. A fountain pen, yes, fountain. I don't use a fountain pen anymore, no. Thank you. Thank you for all coming out on this warm afternoon. It's always lovely to do a book tour that includes a lot of library events. I did this last year when I put together my own tour, and we did a lot of libraries, and it took some convincing because publishing houses don't really believe that libraries are valid venues for this, but I said, we're going to do libraries this year, aren't we? And they said, oh, okay. So thank you for coming out. I have been writing, as you just heard, since 1967, and I find that one of the dangers, especially when you're doing a series, is that you as the author are going to get bored. with them. And so since I have a very low threshold for boredom anyway, I do things in the books to keep myself interested, and I'm assuming it keeps readers interested as well. So that I tend to write, of the Russells, this is the 10th Russell that's come out. And, you know, one of them will be in India, and the next in San Francisco. And the last one, The Language of Bees, ended with various people going off in various directions. And I'm assuming that a fair number of you have read the books, and probably a few of you have not. So I will try not to give anything away. But the Language of Bees ends with Mary Russell going off in one direction with a small child, and Sherlock Holmes going off in another direction with his wounded son. And it had those three dreaded words, "to be continued," which, had I realized how infuriated it would make people, I would never have put it on there. Because honestly, I didn't need it. I only put it on there because I had had a couple of very snide reviews a few years before, when I failed to explain something in a book called The Game, where there's a balcony that falls, and it doesn't get explained in that book itself. And I had 2 or 3 reviews that said, you know, this King's losing it. She's just not, you know, not paying attention to details, even though I knew full well it was going to be explained in the next book. But it's hard to write to reviewers and say, "You idiot." Really not considered good form. So I thought, well, I'm not going to have that happen again. I'm not going to get those reviews that mean people are saying, you know, that she just doesn't solve things. So I'll put "to be continued" so everyone knows that I realize there's one element of this story that is not really satisfactorily concluded. And of course what it meant was that people assumed that none of the story was concluded at all. And so a lot of people simply didn't read the book because they didn't want to have to not know for a whole year. So now you can read the book, okay? Because this one is not to be continued. This one ends, all right? It has a firm, in fact, I don't think they put the end on it, but it does, honestly, I promise you. So anyway, this one begins within an hour or so of the ending of the last one, which is a little more extreme. I often tie the books together chronologically very closely, so that Russell and Holmes will walk in the door from their last case, and there'll be a knock on the door with their next one. This one is, you know, an hour between the volumes is a little tighter than I have so far, but that's where I had to start from. So I thought what I might do is just read a bit, and I'm not going to read much because it's such a warm afternoon. I don't want you all to fall asleep. I mean, if some of you do, that's quite all right, but if too many of you do, I may join you, since I didn't have any coffee this afternoon. But I thought I'd just read a little bit, and then open it up to questions, because we have a nice big crowd here, so we can get some good questions. It's only in Canada that you can't ask for questions and expect any response. Canadians are very reticent. They never assume anyone wants to know what they... So in Canada, I quickly got to realize that you don't say, "I'm going to leave half an hour for questions," because no one will ask anything. So I am assuming that you are not Canadian, and that you will all ask me questions. Intelligent, wise questions. No pressure there, guys.